and welcome to another Dakman Productions podcast. In this podcast, we'll be talking about my general interests and also just general things that's happened since my last podcast. You'll notice that my podcasts are always commercial free, ad free, for your enjoyment, and also I try not to use any scripts, and I try not to do any cuts. My last podcast, I did not do any cuts to it or editing. I just let the camera roll, and I went from there. Usually, I'll put all my thoughts, general thoughts, in the back of my mind, and then when I'm ready to do a podcast, when it's full, my mind is full, and I'm ready to do one, then I'll just go off of what I have on my mind at that time, and try and roll everything out all at once rather than reading a script, So, with that being said, my last podcast I had announced, and also on my Facebook page, by the way, Dakman Productions does have a Facebook page. I announced that I was no longer doing any more or attending any more Garden Railway open house tours unless I was invited. And that's because I had an issue at one place who was upset at the fact that I was there with a video camera. So, from that point forward, I'm only going to these Garden Railway tours that are inviting me. So even if you're on a Garden Railway tour and it's public, you still have to send me an invitation to say, hey, it's okay to come there to shoot video of my layout. That's the only way I can be sure that I'm welcome there. I'm not going to drive all the way out there and then ask people permission, each person. It's not worth my time. Especially if I get there and, there's only one or two people on the tour that are okay with it, and then it was a complete, waste of my time. So, sorry for that, being straightforward, but it is what it is. Also, I did get invited to a wonderful Garden Railway open house called the C&E Railroad, which is why I'm wearing a shirt during this podcast. It was a very well done, beautiful Garden Railway layout. You guys probably saw the video, C&E Garden Railway Open House, and that was they started that layout back in 2012, I think they said. But don't quote me on that. My memory's a little short sometimes. But they worked on this railway for a long time to get this the way it is, and I gotta tell you, I liked it a lot. There was a couple things I really liked about this layout. Number one, thing that I liked the most is all the switches on this layout were all electrically operated, and the controls for the layout were kind of far away. This allows an operator to control the whole entire layout from a distance and without being involved or in the way. So it made it real easy to shoot video. I didn't have to shoot video around somebody who's trying to run their layout, who's not, there, throwing a switch or whatever have you. They were able to operate the railroad from a distance, bring a train into the yard, throw a switch, and then take another train back out of the yard and take a different train out. And then they were able to operate other switches to take trains in different levels of layout. And that's the second thing I liked best about the layout is the different levels. I really like that. Some of the layouts I visited are all one level. They made this thing, like a couple different levels and the bridges, and I really like that. And it allowed for multiple trains to be run at one time, which makes for a great video. By the way, I get to I've been to a couple of Garden Railway layouts where you got this beautiful layout and there's a waterfall, and there's all these flowers, and it's nice. And they have a um, steam locomotive pulling one train car and a caboose throughout this whole layout. And that's it. So, I understand not everybody can afford, trains, but sometimes you gotta look at it from the shooting video aspect of it, that, shooting video of a single locomotive pulling one car and a caboose isn't gonna make for a good video. Sorry, that's just the facts. But, so I would take pictures of it instead, and then post them on Facebook. But the third thing I liked about the C&E Garden Railroad is that the fact that it sits down a hill, and so you can enjoy looking at this whole complete garden railway layout from atop a hill. You can see the whole thing. And that's what made it really nice, because sometimes garden railway tour or garden railway layouts are made in a way that you can't really see the whole thing unless you're walking around. So you have to walk around to see different things. But this layout here, you can actually see the whole entire layout from the top of the hill. So it made it real easy to shoot video from afar, from above, and from a straight line. So it was like a videographer's dream to shoot something like that to make it easy. Yes, I am still involved in the G-Scale community as well. I wanted to put that out there. I had G-Scale trains from 2000 to 2015. Got out of it in 2015, got in an O-gauge. So, but I still go to G-Scale train shows, and I still go to, attending the Garden Railway tours when I'm invited. And also, I like going to the G-Scale train show, which is now going to be held in Maryland instead of Pennsylvania. So, just keep that in mind as well. For my O-gauge ventures, I was always in O-gauge when I was younger, but I never really got back into it until 2015 when all these new train or locomotives started coming out with remote controls and sounds and different things you could do with them. So and so I decided in 2015 that I was going to get back into O-gauge. So that's why most of my videos that you see in O-gauge don't start until about 2015-ish. So that's why Dakman Productions, the O-gauge community didn't really know about Dakman Productions until about that time period. And before I thought about, this is the direction I want to go. I want to get rid of my G and go back to O-gauge. I went to train shows that had O-gauge in it to make sure that's what I really wanted to do. And the things that they could do in O-gauge and the trains that were available really blew me away. And that was what best suited me for being in a basement. Because for those of you who remember me having G-Scale, it was in a basement, so I was limited on space. And I don't know, any of you who visited Jersey or any parts of South Jersey, but it's way different than North Jersey. It's funny how people react, oh, you're from Jersey, it's smoky, pollution, all these cities. No. Come down to South Jersey and I will show you nothing but flat farmland. and that's exactly what's here. Flat farmland. You won't see buildings and skyscrapers and smog and plants and what I mean by plants, like, plant factories and gas towers and all this, industry is what I'm saying. When you come to South Jersey, you'll see nothing but trees and farmland. Guaranteed. But because of the South Jersey weather, it was like near impossible to go outside because you can't predict Jersey weather. and between the bugs and the mosquitoes and the hot weather and the climate, I think I probably, if I did have an outdoor G skill out, I might be able to run it a week out of the whole year. Uh, so it was always inside, and that's why I had it inside but when you're indoors, it's limited on space. I had it sitting on the floor. And if you guys want to look it up, it's called SB Rail Lines. I did make videos of it, the first, for the last 5 years that I had it. And I still keep them on YouTube. And so, for my O-Gauge community that watches Dakman Productions now, thank you for watching and subscribing. Like I said, I got back in O-Gauge in 2015. So now when I go to shows, I try and focus on the O-Gauge stuff. So I keep my channel diverse. I try to focus on O and G now. And so as far as the O-Gauge part of it, I wanted to let you guys know in the O-Gauge community a couple things here. I took over a Facebook group called the O-Gauge Collectors and Operators. That group was pretty much handed over to me. The guy who founded it really lost interest in it, so he handed it over to me, and I took that over. So I changed a few things, but the name itself will remain. It will remain a general O-Gauge group. So if you like O-Gauge, check out the O-Gauge Operators Collectors Facebook group on Facebook. Also, I was made a moderator of the O-Gauge Tips and Tricks page, or Tips and Tricks Facebook group as well. So I'm involved with 2 different Facebook groups for O-Gauge, which keeps me kind of busy, besides shooting video and creating video and working on kind of a reel. And but I wanted to let you guys in the O-Gauge community know that. And the next thing I wanted to touch on, the next subject, is my general interests. Because you'll see sometimes that I don't always post train-related things on my Dakman Productions YouTube channel. I might post something and you guys are like, where did this come from? Why is this being posted? So, I have other interests besides model trains. And sometimes if I'm at a place and I'm enjoying myself, I said, you know what, I might shoot a video of this and just put it on my YouTube channel for, other people enjoy. The model train community might not enjoy it as much, but, there's other people who would. So my last video that you guys probably see me post is where I went to a tow truck and recovery event. So I like tow trucks. Love them. Just as much as I like fire trucks. So between fire trucks and tow trucks, I do like those. And you'll see videos pop up once in a while. A fire truck is shooting or operating, and they're shooting water into a lake. And I think it's kind of cool, so I'll shoot a video of it. But then I attended this tow truck event, and I decided to shoot video of them operating a Freightliner that had a container on it and was loaded with, I think they said 93,000 pounds of dirt. And so they had a 65-ton rotator tow truck upright this truck. It was a 20-minute video, and that's how long it took them to upright this thing, was 20 minutes. And I was pondering the thoughts of, just making a fast-forward video to cut the time in half. But then you wouldn't be able to hear the guy explaining what was going on the whole entire time. So I decided to go ahead and let it ride at 20 minutes. I felt as though nobody really wanted to, watch the whole thing. They could skip through it. So sometimes it's hard to determine what the audience is going to want without making something in that video suffer. And if I had made it a fast forward video, I thought it would suffer the benefit of having that guy telling you guys on camera what was going on the entire time and how they were lifting this thing up and the points of lifting it and stuff like that. So, producing videos isn't always straightforward. Sometimes you're looking at this video. You want to make it as short as you can, because I know YouTube viewers don't like anything more than 15 minutes, and then there's another part of the viewers out there who don't really want anything more than 5 minutes. To me, that's not really a video. That's just a clip. So there is a difference between a clip and a video, to me. Yeah, that's how I think. And, to me, a clip is anything from 1 minute to about 8 minutes, 5 minutes, something like that. And then, a video is like maybe around 8 minutes to 15 minutes. Anything after 15 minutes is basically a movie. And that's how I look at things when I'm producing something. But, yeah, I have different points of interest. So, that tow truck show that I went to yesterday was really neat, and I really liked what I was watching, so I made sure I took video of it. And I have been to fire truck shows, antique fire truck shows. You guys have seen that. Probably videos pop up. And other interests I have is I like antique trucks in general. Anything from maybe the late 70s on back. And when I'm saying trucks, I'm not talking about pickup trucks or anything like that. I'm talking about big trucks. Like Autocar, Brockway, stuff you don't see on the road anymore. And even old Macs. I mean, some of the old Macs are disappearing too. These exporters been buying them up and then taking them out of the country because they're still good, and we don't want them here anymore because they say they pollute the air. But these exporters come up and then they export them back to Brazil and South America, and that's where they end up. And so we're seeing less and less of these things all the time, and they're paying top dollar. They're paying big bucks for these older trucks. So that's another point of interest I have. Also, I like World War II airplanes, specifically bombers. Not so much the fighters. My main interest is bombers. I like the B-17s, the B-29s, 24 Liberator. So I know a little bit about them because anything I know, I tried to research a little bit so I know what I'm looking at when I get there. But I have been to air shows and air show museums and stuff like that. I haven't shot any video of those, just pictures so far. Maybe one day I would like to get to some place where they're flying B-29 or B-17s and shoot video. There's only a couple 29s still flying anyway, and very few B-17 bombers, and unfortunately, I'm sure you guys read the news, sadly enough, a B-17 crashed, killing a few people on board, so that was a big, huge loss. Because every time we lose an airplane, well, you lose people too, but, nobody or the plane can be replaced. It's just a wonderful piece of history that I like. And what fascinated me most about the bombers is I'm a diesel engine tech, so I'm always digging into engines. Engines alone is my specific interest. So what interested me most about the bombers was the way they made the radial engine. It was, to me, it was a sure fascination. And unless you're on a mechanical standpoint or some kind of mechanic, you could not appreciate how they made these radio engines. It was just awesome. Whoever came up with that idea was brilliant. Um, but basically, radio engines come in an odd number of configurations. There was a 5-cylinder, 7-cylinder, and a 9-cylinder. 9-cylinder being the most that engine can hold. And basically, imagine this. A radio engine is nothing more than a motorcycle engine, basically, and a circle. Is the easiest way to put it. So each cylinder has a cylinder jug on it, just like a motorcycle engine does. Harley Davidson, for example. Each cylinder has a jug in it. So they made it that way so they could take and replace a whole entire cylinder without tearing the engine down. So it really made it neat. So if you needed to replace just one cylinder on a radio engine, it would be no big deal. You just take just like a motorcycle, you just take the jug off, the head off, and replace the piston and put it all together, and you're good to go. So since 9 cylinders was the max that a radio engine could have, to get the horsepower out of these bombers, for the engines for these bombers, they actually had to stack 9-cylinder engines behind it. And that's another amazing feat in itself, to get that balance of that engine. So the most powerful bomber engine that they had 3 stacks of 9-cylinder radio engines. In other words, there was a 9-cylinder engine, another 9-cylinder engine bolted to that, and another 9-cylinder engine bolted to the back of it. So there was 3 9-cylinder radio engines bolted back to back to back to get the horsepower needed to lift these planes off. And I think the Smithsonian in Philadelphia actually has a cutaway of either a Wright Cyclone or one of his radio engines, so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. And you might even be able to Google that. But it's just sheer amazement to me how they did this back in the day when there was hardly any kind of technology, really, not like we see today. So yeah, airplanes, bombers with these radio engines really fascinated me. And so I get into World War II movies, and as well, I really like them over anything newer, because I like to see the technology that was used into the tanks and the bombers and stuff like that. And there was one movie called Flight to the Phoenix. There was 2 different versions of that. There was an early black and white one with Ernest Borgnine, and then a newer one made roughly about 10-15 years ago, colorized, a rerun, pretty much of that movie. And you'll see that this plane comes in, and they load up the crew because they shut down this oil rig, and then they take off, and then the plane crashes. So basically, they take this plane, they cut it up, and they try to make a new plane out of the old one. And the plane is called, they mentioned in the movie, is called Flying Boxcar. That is a real name for the plane. That's an actual real name, Flying Boxcar. The Flying Boxcar was the most powerful, had the most powerful radio engines ever produced, even more powerful than the bombers. And unfortunately, those engines didn't come out until after World War II had ended. But that plane did really feature the most powerful radio engines ever produced. Now, in the movie, you'll see that the guy uses shotgun shells, what looks like to be shotgun shells, to start this plane. He puts them in, and he pops this thing and shoots them off. And I wanted to know if that was real. And so I investigated that and did a lot of digging around. And then I finally found out that yes, that is real. There was a starting system called the Kaufman starting system. And it actually used cartridges that were loaded up with, gunpowder. And the Kaufman, it really didn't take off, and I can see why. I can't imagine putting some kind of what looks to be a big giant shotgun shell with something and starting it up. But that's what the Kaufman starting system did. It used these big shells on that engine, and that's how it started the plane. If you go on YouTube, you can actually research other videos of other equipment that used the Kaufman starting system. I ran into one where there was a bulldozer, an antique bulldozer, and this guy takes what looks to be like a 22 shell or 22 bullet. He actually opens this little hole up and he puts the bullet in there and he closes it. And there's this little stem that sticks up, and he takes a hammer, and that's how he shoots the shell off, by hitting the hammer on that little pin. So he actually takes the hammer, hits the pin, and you can hear the engine, start up and run. So I can't imagine if that actually backfired in the cylinder or in the ignition chamber. So I don't know what kind of safety measures they had back then, but it seemed like a kind of a dangerous starting system, the size of the Ford Model T that had the crank handle that could rip your hand off. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on my other interests, so you guys know when I post something different other than trains, why is he posting that? Because I want to share my other interest on YouTube, even though it's not that often. So I try to keep my Dakman Productions page on Facebook geared towards trains and model trains only. I did open up another Facebook page called, I think it's called Antique Trucks and Fire Trucks with Dakman. You might want to check that out if you like old trucks and fire trucks. I've been posting pictures on there of places I've been to. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. And one last thing before I go, somebody had made a comment about my chair that I use. They noticed it only has one arm. And yeah, the one arm broke, but I found that to be pretty convenient for me, because now I can just pretty much slide out of the chair and slide into the chair. So that's why I pretty much haven't fixed it. They were like, well, I don't understand why you can go out and buy yourself a new chair. I said, or fix the one you have. I said, nah, you know what? I like the way it is. Makes it easier for me to get in and out of, actually. So I left it. Kind of hay rail. Yeah, I'll be doing, many of you have requested a video tour. I'll be doing a video tour of Conahey Rail shortly, in the next couple of days, hopefully, and get that out to you. There's still a couple train shows left I want to attend, and I'll actually be going to as long as nothing happens to me, I'll be going to an antique truck show this weekend. The owner of the company has an old Ford with a 3406 Caterpillar in it, and I went there last year. He let me take the truck last year. So what I do is I spruce it up, because they actually still use the truck. It's used on a farm. So I washed it and I painted the frame and painted the tanks and stuff like that. Painted the engine. I went through the whole truck, and he really liked how it came out. So I asked him this year if I could take it back to the show again. He said yes. So I will be at the South Jersey truck show come this weekend with it. And they are doing a what they call a parade lap on the Millville Motorsports Raceway. So last year I think they did like 3 laps, but I couldn't go out on the track last year because I broke my arm, broke this arm right here, right at the elbow, and so I was in a cast, and so I didn't want to be. I probably shouldn't say this on video, but I'm going to anyway. I didn't want to be harassed by the cops or anybody, so before I drove the truck over there, I actually took my sling off and put my arm into the pocket of my jacket so it was in the same exact position, because I had broke they call it the radial something or other. I'm not a doctor, but it was like busted right in here. And so I drove this truck one-armed to the show. It wasn't that far, maybe like, 20 miles, if that. So, I just had to make sure that, I had to shift. The truck's a 10-speed now, mind you. So I'm shifting this truck and driving it with one arm. So I drove it all the way up there, and I really wanted to race on a racetrack, but I knew in my mind and in my heart that I could not safely maneuver this truck around the track with one arm. I might have gotten it there and back, but I didn't want anybody getting hurt, including myself. So I decided to opt out of the going on the racetrack. But I'm definitely going on the racetrack this year. I'm hoping to shoot an in-cab video of me driving this antique Ford. It's a Ford. What year is it? I think it's a 90. I'll get you more information, but I believe it's a 1990 Ford L9000 with a 3406. And what makes that truck unique is because it is a L9000 with a bigger engine in it. So it did get a lot of looks last year. People were asking me, is this factory? Is this factory? Yes, yes, yes. Ford had actually made a different hood. So for the L9000, for the bigger engine to fit, it's a little bit extended so they could fit the engine and the radiator in there. So it is a factory engine. It makes it very unique because most of the L9000s either came with a smaller Cummins M11 or the 3176B. One of those two engines. But this one actually has a 3406, the bigger engine in it. So that's what makes that truck unique. So I'm looking forward to driving this truck on the Millville Motorsports Raceway. Last year they gave them 3 laps. I'm hoping for that again. And I think it'll be a blast. It'll be fun. I always have a ton of fun when I go out to when I go out to a show like that. I went to a couple truck shows last year, and I just like the old antique trucks. But with that being said, I kept you guys long enough. I'm glad you enjoyed the Dakman Productions podcast again. Glad that you guys are subscribers. Glad to have you guys here. Hopefully the channel continues to grow, get more subscribers, and if there's something you specifically want to see or whatever have you, you can always send me a message through YouTube or Dakman Productions Facebook page. Got any suggestions, comments? Let me know. I'd love to see your comments and suggestions. As long as they're made in a respectable way. But okay, see you guys later, and thank you for watching another Dakman Productions podcast.